Hi, welcome to day 8 of our Genesis 20-day read-through. Today we have got a section called Expectant Encounters, and that is due in part to the amount of encounters that we have between humanity and God in this, really Abraham and God. And each of those encounters are quite exciting, and they're expectant. They're the hope of things changing. There's dialogue. It's dynamic. So that is going to be Genesis chapters 18, 19 and 20. Those are the chapters that we're reading today, and I've gone back to my trusty NRSV, which might tell you that I quite like it, but I'll leave that up to you to see if you like it as well. And hopefully it's going to be a bit shorter than the last couple, but let's see how we go. Genesis 18. The Lord appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre. As he sat at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day, he looked up and saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent entrance to meet them and bowed to the ground. He said, "My Lord, if I find favour with you, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Let me bring little bread that you might refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant." So they said, "Do as you have said." And Abraham hastened into the tent and said, "Make ready quickly 3 measures of choice flour, knead it, and make cakes." Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the servant, who hastened to prepare it. Then he took curds and milk and the calf that he had prepared, and he set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree while they ate. They said to him, "Where is your wife, Sarai?" Sarah. And he said, "There, in the tent." Then one said, "I will surely return to you in due season, and your wife Sarah shall have a son." And Sarah was listening at the tent entrance behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah, being advanced in age, it had ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of a woman. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I have grown old, and my husband is old, shall I have pleasure?" The Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old?' Is anything too wonderful for your Lord to do?" At the set time, I will return to you in due season, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied, saying, "I did not laugh," for she was afraid. "Oh yes, you did laugh." Then the men set out from there, and they looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to set them on their way. The Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Seeing that Abraham shall become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? No, for I have chosen him, that he may keep charge of his children and household after him, to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring about Abraham for what he has promised." Then the Lord said, "How great is the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah! How very grave their sin! I must go down and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me, and if not, I will know." So the men turned from there and went towards Sodom, while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham came near and said, "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not forgive it for the 50 righteous people who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of the earth do what is just? And the Lord said, if I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will forgive the whole place for their sake. Abraham answered, let me take it upon myself to speak to the Lord, I who am but dust and ashes. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking. Will you destroy the whole city for a lack of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 people who are righteous. Again he spoke to them, suppose the 40 are found there. He answered, for the sake of 40 I will not do it. Then he said, oh, do not let the Lord be angry if I speak. Suppose 30 are found there. He said, let me take it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 are found there. He answered, for the sake of 20 I will not destroy it. Then he said, oh, do not let the Lord be angry if I speak just one more. Suppose 10 are found there. He answered, for the sake of 10 I will not destroy it. And the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Genesis 19. The 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. He said, please, my lords, turn around to your servant's house and spend the night, and wash your feet. Then you can rise early and go on your way. They said, no, we will spend the night in the square. But he urged them strongly. So they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city, both young and old, all the men of the city, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we may know them. Lot went out of the door to the men, shut the door after them, and said, I beg you, brothers, do not act so wickedly. Look, I have 2 daughters who have not yet known a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof. But they replied, stand back. And they said, this fellow came here as an alien, and he would play judge. Now we will deal with you worse than with them. Then they pressed hard against the man Lot, and they came near to the door to break it down. But the men inside reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them, and they shut the door. Then they struck with blindness the men who were at the door of the house, both small and great, so that they were unable to find the door. Then the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone you have in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we are about to destroy it because of the outcry against its people. It has become too great for the Lord, so the Lord has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and said to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city. But it seemed to his sons-in-law that he were jesting. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or else you will be consumed in the punishment of the city. But he lingered. He lingered, just like me. Lingered. So the two men seized him and his wife and his two daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him. And they brought him out and left him outside the city. When they brought them outside, they said, "Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the hills, or else you will be consumed." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lords, your servant has found favour with you, and you have shown me great kindness in saving my life. But I cannot flee to the hills for fear the disaster will overtake me and die. Look, the city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there." "Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved." He said to him, "Very well, I grant you this favour too, and will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I can do nothing until you arrive there." Therefore the city was called Zor. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zor. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulphur and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew upon the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down towards Sodom and Gomorrah and towards all the land of the plain, and saw the smoke of the land going up like the smoke of a furnace. So it was that when God destroyed the cities of the plain, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst and when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had settled. Now, when Lot went up out of Zor and settled into the hills with his daughters, for he was afraid to stay in Zor, he lived in a cave with his two daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come in to us after the manner of all the world. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she rose. And on the next day the firstborn said to the younger, "Look, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, so that you may go in and lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night also. And then the younger rose and lay with him. And he did not know when she lay down or when she rose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son and named him Moab. He is the ancestor of the Moabites to this day. The younger also bore a son and named him Ben-Ami. He is the ancestor of the Ammonites to this day. Genesis 20. From there Abraham journeyed towards the region of the Negeb and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While residing in Gerar as an alien, Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." And King Abimelech of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream and said to him, "You are about to die because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is married." Now Abimelech had not approached her, so the Lord said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent people? Did he not say himself to me, 'She is my sister,' and she herself say, 'He is my brother'? I did this in the integrity of my heart and with the innocence of my hands." Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart. Furthermore, it was I who kept you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not let you touch her. Now then, return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all that are yours." So Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told them all these things. And the men were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? How have I sinned against you, that you have brought such great guilt on me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that ought not to be done." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What were you thinking of when you did this thing?" Abraham said, "I did it because I thought there is no fear of God at all in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And when God caused me to wander from my father's house, I said to her, 'This is the kindness you must do to me. At every place to which we come, say of me, here is my brother.' Then Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and restored his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech said, 'My land is before you, settle where it pleases you.' To Sarah he said, 'Look, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. It is your exoneration before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated.' Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, and also healed his wife and female slaves, so that they bore children. For the Lord had closed fast all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife." Well, there's certainly a lot of thoughts that you could have about that couple of chapters, those expectant encounters, those encounters with God that were pretty formative, that changed people's lives. To be honest, those chapters remind me of when you're sitting there in front of the television watching it with your granny or your mum or your dad, and suddenly the story takes such a dark turn that you are totally embarrassed about the fact that you're watching this with loved ones, because it really is such a difficult couple of chapters to read. We start off all right with that encounter and hospitality offered by Abraham, and it's really interesting cultural hospitality, the way he runs and gets everything. And then Lot offers the same hospitality, but then we have that encounter with all the men of Sodom, and obviously you've heard that Sodom is linked with obviously that homosexuality, but I mean that's not really what comes through here. I mean they do say that they might rape the men in the house. That's why they say let us know them. But really it's about that. I mean that rape would be a power violation. It's about that. It's about the fact that people are outcrying against Sodom and Gomorrah because it's just so corrupt. It's so awful that God has to destroy it because people are suffering. So yeah, less about homosexuality and more about people abusing power. Abusing power is just left, right and centre, just horrific. But what do we say about Lot? Why does he offer his daughters? Does he know that they are going to refuse? Is it, I mean, in what way is that all right? It's interesting though, because later he talks to the sons-in-law and they laugh about God destroying the city, and in the verses it says every man was standing surrounding the house. Well, are the sons-in-law to be? Are they not men? Were they there? And also, just a quick, they laugh as Sarah had laughed about that promise of God. So it's, there are similar responses there, which is interesting. And then, as if it couldn't get worse, we've got Lot's daughters laying with him. There is a sense within the Old Testament and within some of these chapters that you've got the culture. I said before that the reason you might have got that story with Noah and the nakedness was to explain why there's problems with Canaan. Well, Moabites, they're equally the butt of some jokes. And the pillar of salt even, why does it smell of sulphur near the Dead Sea? All those are kind of answered within these narratives. And so that might be a reason that they're placed with such a surety in it, why they've given centre stage to something that you're like, do I need to know that? But definitely a challenging chapter, and hopefully chapters. Hopefully you've got some thoughts. Hopefully it makes you think, oh, I don't know what to do with that, or oh, this is what I think we ought to do with this, or this is how it speaks to me. So take those, write them down, or take them to a group and discuss them.